أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي بمحمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, the best among you are the ones who have the best moral traits, those who like others and are well liked. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله خياركم أحاسنكم أخلاقا الذين يألفون ويؤلفون. خياركم أحاسنكم أخلاقا الذين يألفون ويؤلفون. With transaction, we reach to a new topic, that sale of gold and silver in front of gold and silver. That means the commodity is gold or silver, and the exchange is also gold or silver. The commodity is gold and the exchange is gold. The commodity is silver and the exchange is silver. Issue number 2128. If gold is sold against gold, gold sold against gold, and silver is sold against silver, and silver sold against silver, whether it is in the form of coins or otherwise, gold by gold, silver by silver, whether they are coins or not. If the weight of one of them means the commodity, or the other one is what? The price or the exchange. If the weight of one of them is more than that of the other, the transaction is haram and void. The transaction is haram and void. Why? Because it is what? It is usury. It is usury. Issue number 2129. If gold is sold against silver, gold and silver, is there a problem? No. Or silver is sold against gold, the transaction is valid, even if there is difference in their weight. Even there is difference. Why? Because it's gold against silver, or silver against gold, doesn't matter. But gold against gold or silver against silver, no. We have to make the same what? The same weight. Otherwise, it will be usury. Huh? Exactly, very good. They are not the same category. If gold is sold against silver or silver is sold against gold, the transaction is valid. And it is not necessary that their weight be equal. But if it is sold on credit, that means I will take this gold, I'll give you silver later on. Or if I'll take this silver and I'll give you what? Gold later on. This is on credit. Or stipulated time. You know what does mean stipulated time? For example, the 1st of February, the end of April, stipulated time. The transaction will be void. Why the transaction will be void? Why? Because of the time, time has a price, And these things, their prices is not stable. Excuse me. Yeah, but if it is sold on credit or stipulated time, the transaction will be void. Issue number 2130. If gold or silver is sold against gold or silver, gold or silver is sold against gold or silver, it is necessary for the seller and the buyer that before they separate it from each other, they should deliver the commodity. They should deliver the commodity. For example, I say 10 grams of what? Of gold to Sheikh Imad. And Sheikh Imad is going to give me the price, the exchange, also 10 grams of gold. I should give him my 10 grams and he should give me what? His own 10 grams before we separate it. This is what we call it khiyar al-majlis. They should deliver the commodity and its exchange to each other. And if even a part of the thing about which agreement has been made is not delivered, for example, he just give me half of the commodity. He gave me half of the commodity to the person concerned. The transaction becomes void. The transaction becomes void. Issue number 2131. If either the seller or the buyer, delivers the stock in full as agreed, if either one of them, that means one of them, the seller, he delivered the stock, or the buyer, he delivered the stock, delivers the stock in full as agreed, but the other person delivers only a part of his stock. Only a part of his stock. That means I am the seller and Sheikh Imad is the buyer. I deliver him what? I deliver him half of the commodity. I deliver him half of the commodity, not the whole commodity. He gave me what? The whole money. He gave me the whole exchange. I deliver him half of the stock. But the other person delivers only a part of his stock, and they separate from each other. Now I have two things. I have half of the stock I delivered to Sheikh Imad, and the other half still I have it. The other half of the stock still I have it. The transaction with regard to the part exchanged, the part that I gave it to Sheikh Imad, will be valid. But the person who has not received the entire stock, so the transaction only valid to that part which has been taken by Sheikh Imad. Not only that, but also Sheikh Imad, the buyer, has what? Has another choice. But the person who has not received the entire stock can cancel the transaction. He has another choice. He has the choice to what? To cancel the transaction. Why? Because I did not deliver the whole commodity to him. Is it clear? Okay. Issue number 2132. If silver dust, تراب الفضة, from a mine is sold, against pure silver. مقابل شنو؟ مقابل فضة صافية. شبعنا تراب الفضة مقابل. And gold dust, تراب الذهب, from a mine is sold against pure gold. هذا بعناه من شنو؟ بعناه مقابل الذهب الصافي. The transaction is void. Why? The transaction is void. It's very clear because the weight is not equal. The weight is not equal. We have pure gold and we have dust gold. We have a pure silver and we have dust silver. If the pure gold is equal to the gold in the dust, doesn't matter. If the silver, the pure silver, is equal in weight to the silver in dust silver, it's okay. Okay? So the transaction is void unless one is sure that the quality of silver dust is equal to the quantity. Sorry, this is not the quality. The quantity should be quantity. Yes. Should be quantity. If the quantity of the silver dust is equal to the quantity of a pure silver, in this case the transaction is what is valid. However, there is no harm in selling silver dust against gold or gold dust against silver. Why, Sheikh Salim? Because they are different. Yes, Sheikh Faz? Different substances, different category. Yes. As mentioned earlier, circumstances in which one has a right to cancel transaction. Here we have another topic. Issue number 2133. The right to cancel transaction is called khiyar. The right to cancel a transaction is called khiyar. The seller and the buyer can cancel a transaction in the following 11 cases. So we have 11 cases that the buyer or the seller can cancel the transaction. Definitely not all of them to both of them. Some of them to the buyer, some of them to the seller, and some of them for both. Number one, if the parties to the transaction have not parted from each other, if the parties to the transaction have not parted from each other, though they may have left the place of agreement, this is called khiyarul majlis. If the parties of the transaction, who are they? The buyer and the seller. The buyer and the seller have not parted, they have not separated, they still together. Even if they are walking, they still together. Not all in the same place. Even if they are walking, they still together. If the parties are to the transaction, parties, we have the buyer. You have to explain this to me in the exam, please. In the exam, I need such clarifications. If the parties to the transaction have not parted from each other, though they may have left the place of agreement, as I told you, the place of agreement, it is not only one place. Maybe they still walk together and they have a train together or a taxi together, still they have this place. This is called khiyar al-majlis. 2, if the buyer or the seller has been cheated in a sale transaction, cheated, or in any other sort of deal, either of the parties has been deceived. Either of the parties has been deceived by the other. Either the buyer deceived the seller or the seller deceived the buyer. They have a right to call off. They have a right to call off the deal. They have the right to cancel the deal, to call off, to cancel the deal. This is called khiyarul ghabn. This is called the choice of being cheated. Khiyarul ghabn. This khiyar, this choice, stems from the fact that each side, the buyer or the seller, in any deal, in any transaction, wishes to ensure that he does not receive less than what he has given. For example, he gave amount of money, it should be the same value of this money with the commodity. It shouldn't be lesser than this amount. And if he has been cheated, he should have the right to back out. He should have the right to cancel. To back out, it means to take back his money. But if one has in mind that if he is given less than what he has delivered or is paid less than what he deserves, he will ask for the difference. He should first demand the difference before canceling the deal. And if somebody, one of them, he said, okay, I received less than the thing that I want, or I should be paid by the other side. In this case, and I said, okay, if he gave me something better, or if he changed it, look, he said, but if one has in his mind that if he's given less than what he has delivered, or is paid less than what he has deserves, he will ask for the difference. He will ask for the difference. That means if I paid him this phone, and he paid me how many? Let's say 500,000 IQDs. Now I see there is a difference between its original price and what I paid. In this case, I will ask for what? I will ask for the difference. He should pay me what? Another 1,500,000. If, for example, his price is 2 million. Is this understood? He will ask for the difference. He should first demand the difference before canceling the deal. And this is what we call it in Arabic. What do we call this in Arabic? يأخذ الحق التفاوت بين السليم والصحيح. لا أشياء مصطلح الأرش، ناخذ الأرش. نانا هو مو حق الأرش بالضبط، بس هو التفاوت بين سعر الحقيقي غبن بين سعر الحقيقي وبين سعر اللي دفع لي 500 وصار مليونين، فعلي انه اطالب بمن؟ مليون وسطيتني ابوي، المليون وسطيتني، ما اعطيتني لا ابوي رجع لي هاك 500. هذا مو القرش. ها أحسنتم، القرش للعيب. Number 3, if while entering into a transaction it is agreed that up to a stipulated time, at a stipulated time, one or both the parties, either the seller or the buyer, or both of them, so the seller and the buyer, will be entitled to cancel the transaction, has the choice to what? To cancel the transaction till what? Till the stipulated time. إلى خيار شنو؟ إلى خيار فسخ العقد. إما اثنيناتهم أو واحد منهم، إلى خيار فسخ العقد. إلى مدة معينة خيار الفسخ. This is called خيار الشارط. This is called خيار الشارط. أبيعك هذا التليفون مثلا 1,000,000 وإلي حق يابا منا لورا شهر، إذا جبت لك 1,000,000 أفسخ العقد، ترجع لي تليفوني مثل ما أعطيتك إياه وأعطيك 1,000,000. وأنت قبلت أعطيتني 1,000,000 وقلت لي شيخنا ما يخالف منا الشهر، إذا ما رديت لي التليفون أني أفسخ. إذا رديت لي 1,000,000 أني أنطيك التليفون. شلون شيخنا؟ لا مو رهن، لا مو رهن، لا رهن غير شكل، غير شكل. هذا يسمونه خيار الشرط. أبيعك إياه بشرط، هذا التليفون قيمته 1,000,000، أبيعك إياه شيخنا بشقد 1,000,000، هسه 1,000,000 تدفع لي 1,000,000، لكن يثبت لي خيار الشرط شنو هو؟ إنه منا بعد شهر إذا جبت لك 1,000,000 ترجع لي تليفوني مثل ما بعتك إياه، وأنت وافقت خلاص. لا نفسه ماكو بيس خلل. طيب. Number 4, if one of the parties, I mean the seller or the buyer, presents his commodity as better than it usually is, so the commodity is better than what it is, and thereby attracts the buyer to the good attributes of this commodity, or makes him more enthusiastic about it. This is called خيار التدليس. That means I told Sheikh Ameer that this phone, what it does? Give me something. Of high quality, yes. But it is not high quality. It has a broken screen. It doesn't work with Bluetooth or internet. Okay? So in this case, when I sell it to Sheikh Ameer with high quality and he discovered this, he has the right to give it back to me and take his money. If one of the parties presents his commodity as better than it actually is, and thereby attracts the buyer to makes him more enthusiastic about it, this is called خيار التدليس. Number 5, if one of the parties to the transaction stipulates the other would perform a certain job. By selling this phone, I ask Sheikh Ameer to build a wall for me in my house, or to sew دشداشة. If one of the parties to the transaction stipulates that the other would perform certain job and that condition is not fulfilled, or if it is stipulated that the commodity will be of a particular quality and the commodity supplied may be lacking in that quality, in these cases, is the transaction valid or void? The party which lied the condition can cancel the transaction. The party which lied the condition, can cancel the transaction. This is called خيار تخلف الشرط. This is called خيار تخلف الشرط. Why? Because he gave me something which is different from what he has told me about. Number 6, if the commodity supplied is defective, that means the same commodity is what is not good. It is not the same conditions that we applied to or we fulfilled the agreement on. So this is called خيار العيب. This is called خيار العيب. Number 7. If it transfers that a quality of the commodity under transaction is the property of a third person. So this phone, it is not mine. It is my wife's phone. All right? In that case, if the owner, my wife, in our example, of that part is not willing to sell it, she does not willing to sell this cell phone, the buyer can cancel the transaction or can claim back for the seller the replacement of that part. Sometimes this cell phone, we are two in it, or it has two owners, me and my wife, and I want to sell it, but my partner does not agree to sell her share. In this right, the buyer, either he canceled the whole transaction, and ask me the seller to give him back his money, or if he has already paid for it, this is called خيار الشركة. خيار الشركة. If, number 8, if the owner describes certain qualities of his commodity which the buyer has not seen, okay, and then the buyer realizes that the commodity is not as it was described, the buyer can rescind the deal. In this case, the buyer can what? Can rescind it, cancel the deal. Why? Because he has something different from what I am the seller describe it to him. Similarly, the same hukum that the buyer can rescind the deal if the buyer may have seen the commodity sometimes back, he saw it, okay, and purchased it thinking that the qualities it had then will be still existing. And if he finds that these qualities have disappeared, he has a right to cancel the deal. For example, he saw this phone before, okay, and later on I bring him another phone with not the same qualities in this phone. Not the same qualities in this phone. Now he has the right to do what? To cancel this transaction. Is it clear? Huh? Okay. Number 9. If the buyer does not pay for commodity he has bought for 3 days. He has bought the commodity, but he does not pay money for 3 days. And the seller has not yet handed over to him, and the commodity is still with what? with the seller, the commodity, the seller can cancel the transaction. The seller can cancel the transaction. Why? Because he hasn't handed the commodity and the seller is not paying for 3 days. So he can cancel the transaction and buy the commodity to somebody else. But this is in the circumstances when the seller had agreed to allow him time for deferred payment without fixing the period. In case if the buyer came and asked me, so he told me, okay, I will pay you after a month, and I agreed. Now I don't have right to cancel the transaction. Why? Because I agreed to defer the payment for a month, for example. Is it clear? And if the seller had not at all agreed on deferred payment, he can cancel the transaction at once without any delay. There is no agreement, so I can, and he's not paying for me, I didn't hand the commodity to him, then I can cancel the agreement. And if he had allowed him more than 3 days credit, then the seller cannot resign the deal before the termination, cancelling of 3 days if the commodity is perishable. Like what? Like fruit, tomatoes, some vegetables. We cannot what? We cannot keep it for 1 a day. How about 3 days? Which would perish or decay if left for 1 day. يعني تخرب. إذا هاي البضاعة تخرب مو مال انتظر 3 أيام. أصلا مال يوم واحد مال انتظرها. 1 day is not allowed to. Why? Because it will decay. And the buyer without any prior condition does not pay till nightfall. The seller can cancel the transaction. This is called خيار التأخير. خيار التأخير. 11. A person who buys, 10. A person who buys an animal can cancel the transaction within 3 days. With the animal within 3 days. And if a person sold his commodity in exchange of, for an animal, it means the exchange, the price is an animal, not money. Also, he has khiyar for how many? For the choice for 3 days. For an animal, he can also cancel the transaction within 3 days, because within 3 days, maybe this animal was sick, or maybe it is poisoned. So within 3 days, we will explain, we will know that this animal is healthy or not. He can also cancel the transaction with the 3 days. This called khiyarul haywan. Last, yes, Sheikh.
How about if the animal is healthy and there is no any defect in it?
Still we have 3 days. Still we have 3 days. But put in mind that these 3 days you have give him a good place to live, a good environment to live, good food, not to put it for the other animals to attack it, or to the bad weather to kill it, and you say, hey, it dies because of the weather. You understand this, inshallah. If the seller is unable to deliver possession of the thing sold by him, this is number 11. If the seller is unable to deliver possession of the thing sold, possession, it means either the money or the commodity, by him, like if the horse sold by him runs away and disappears, he can cancel the transaction. This is called خيار تعذر تسليم. خيار تعذر تسليم, that he cannot handle the commodity. That's all for today. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.